right, boys. Welcome to Looper Talk. My name is Tim Palmer. I have a good friend of mine, Austin McBride. Great dude. Former Greenskeeper is his tag handle. We met on the internet, so it's been a relationship over the few months I've started this podcast, and he is one of my original, kind of my first followers, and he and I have had really good conversations, and so I'm very excited for what we're about to do today. Obviously, former greenskeeper, caddy on call. He does play semi-competitive golf, played in some really big stages. So we are speaking to somebody with a lot of experience, and that is somebody that I enjoy having on my show. So this is going to be a good conversation, and I'm going to kind of let you tell the world, maybe put some more in depth of who you are and what your outlook is on things. And then we're going to kind of jump into the Anthony Kim stuff. Tell us where you're from, anything about yourself that pertains to golf, I guess. And then, yeah, we'll kind of just jump in.
Yeah, sounds good, Tim. So I grew up uh, kind of similar to you. I was pretty good at golf pretty early. Had a run at 13, might have peaked early, took second in the state junior am in Utah.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, when I put semi-competitive in the notes, it means I still do compete,
Yeah.
do US Open qualifiers and state AMs and stuff like that. But I stepped away from the game for a long time, got into snowboarding, I just kind of fell out of love with golf. And then as an adult, maybe 15 years after kind of hanging it up, I just came back to it with a new appreciation and passion. And that's really been driving my interest over the last, I don't know, 5 years or so, getting back into competitive play. And yeah, I have kind of a weird game. I really love recovery shots. And maybe that's because I'm not a very good driver of the golf ball, but I own it. And I just love making pars from weird places and got a good short
Scrappy.
game. Scrappy as hell around the greens have been referred to as having gentler hands than a Palm Springs florist. You can
Love
pick
it.
that
I
one.
like it. Oh yeah. I don't, a Palm Springs florist, dude. That is. I'm sorry. I've caddied in the American Express a few times, and when I think of Palm Springs, I think of like these really rich old ladies that want to bang like young dudes, and so they're all like very poshy, and so just say when you said that, I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my god, that's the
exactly.
best, dude. That's so good. There's a bar down there called The Nest, and anytime I've been down there, I've been married, so I'm obviously not exercising these thoughts, but this place called The Nest, if you're a young dude and you're somewhat attractive, you go down there, you have all these divorced wives, and they are just hungry.
I think you're adding a lot more value than golf to a lot of the listening audience right now. Recently divorced, I'm like,
Dude,
put a
and they
note, put
have
in the
money
nest.
too, man. I mean, you could get a sugar mama. You're so in. And I mean, you gotta think they're probably fairly attractive because they got plastic surgery and being around a lot of money, I would assume they take care of themselves somewhat decent. And even if they're not, they're definitely at the age where you're like, well, you got friends too, right? So, oh man, that's amazing. And you caddy too a little bit on the side, right? I was saying, and I know in the notes you said something about the Bryan Bros. Yeah,
That
right.
doesn't really have anything to do with that, but, yeah, the caddying thing is more or less just helping buddies out when they wanna go play in a
Right
competitive
on,
event,
right on.
doing something like that. I got offered to caddy at the Colonial and at the Wynn, but both of them got disrupted for different reasons.
Man,
Family issues on one, the other was COVID happened, so the Wynn shut down entirely. Anyway, I've been in the conversations about looping, and I feel like I do a good job when I'm out there, but, yeah, relating to the Bryan Bros thing, it was pretty funny. I was working at an ad agency and LIV Golf was one of our clients, and they had really bad engagement ratings for their ads because all of the ads were just like a billboard. It was just a static, like who,
yeah.
what, when, where, why. And so the algorithm hated it and everything wasn't performing very well. So I came up with a great idea to introduce influencers. Why don't you guys get on the influencer train? I know a lot of people would be interested to maybe do a day in the life at a live event, or if
Right.
you guys really want to do like the high water mark, you guys could do like some sort of influencer tournament and internet invitational. None of this shit had happened yet. This was kind of early days for that sort of stuff. And so anyway, I wasn't there for those other talks at live to see if my advice actually was how that came to be, but I did recommend it and it did happen. So in any case, if that ended up resulting in the
He is
Brian
the
bringing up the
Wesley Bryan, boys and girls.
I'm the one to blame. Apologies for that. That seemed like a good idea for, Liv
That's
at the time.
amazing. Oh my god. I still can't believe they suspended him for that. I don't understand that. And it's like with Brooks Koepka, they should have had Brooks go back to Q school, in my opinion. That would have saved a lot of relevance and that would have given Wesley somewhat of a, hey, well, I can go back to Q school, try again. Which
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
with
that
you.
might be
Like,
a little bit of a um harsh rule there, but I just to let Brooks in and then like you said, you were just doing I mean, you're just trying to help a company gain relevance and through advertisement, social media, and you had great idea because influencers have a lot of fans and they have a lot of pull, and so if you bring them into the situation, well, that's a great idea to bring more of that fan base into Live, and that would create sort of an element there where you have people that maybe aren't necessarily golfers either be interested in live. So it is very entertaining how things are starting to unravel in the pro golf world.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
mean, you're right. I think that the road back needed to be presented in some way.
yes,
I mean, I kind of think that being a major champion, he may have some advantages outside of just like if he plays well in a major, then I don't know what that entitles him to. They hadn't
right,
really made that rule up yet, but they're making it all up as they go along anyway. So if they are, you might as well do it right. Give some of the people you slapped on the wrist just like a little bit of grace. I think it's a new world. Like everything's changing all the time with this. It's
exactly. At least be like, okay, we have a new CEO,
yeah,
so he has got new ideas in place. The OWGR, we're going to put someone from Live on their governing board,
that'd be
and
ideal.
we're going to
Yeah.
allow we're going to allow them to have rankings. We're going to allow the PGA and the PGA of America have rankings, and blah 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 blah. And then that way, we at least create some sort of base of, okay, you want to get back on the tour, you need to go to Q school. Live tour, you got to be invited. Even with Live, maybe they do have a qualifying event down the road. That would be cool.
They
But at
do
least,
already. They have the promotions event. That's how Anthony Kim got back in.
yeah, right. Okay, so there you go. And so, that's what yeah, okay, now I remember all that. So even though things are changing, and I don't mind change, I think change is good. We have to create a base where it's fair for everybody to at least be like, okay, if I want to be part of this tour, and I was a part of this other tour, I can then switch and have a stationary plan in place, knowing that if I want to be back on the PGA Tour, and again, if you're a major winner, maybe there's some changes there, and we can put that in that system, like Patrick Reed, for example, right?
Mhm.
But like you said, if we can make it to where this is the structure, we did modify it, but we're not changing from the structure now until something else comes about. But it's like you said, well, there's some players we want in, and then there's some players we're just going to completely fuck over.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, and that's the thing that people don't realize. Like, I had a
Maybe
guy
they just
tell
don't like him.
well, and that's what I mean, and it's like and then you have, well, Peter Uline, he didn't do shit on the tour, and then he shows up on Live and starts playing well, and you're like, "Well, dude, that's not necessarily because of Live that he's
Mhm.
playing well. He could've maybe figured out how to play professional tournaments better, and then
People go
maybe it
through
took
those
him a
changes all the time.
yeah, and it took him longer to really get comfortable doing that, and so it just so happened that when he got to Live, he felt like he was in a better environment, he felt like he
Mhm.
could start playing better. It's like the Max Homa deal. But you can't be like, "Well, Peter Uihlein played better because of Live," and it's like, "Well, Max Homa didn't do shit until, like, 2019." I mean, the 2016, 2017 season, he only made $18,000. I mean, that dude was
Uh,
he was garbage, man, and I'm not saying he's a garbage player, I'm just saying in
yeah,
relation
it's
to
a
what he was dealing with, he
rough
missed, like,
spell, yeah.
14 cuts, man, and then look at him now.
Yeah.
He's obviously figured it out, and he's played better, and he's starting to get into a situation where he can be financially set for life, but when he first started, it wasn't like he just showed up and was Tiger Woods in it. He really had people backing him, he had a lot of money that was spent, he had a lot of time, he had a lot of other external factors that were allowing him these opportunities to continue to grow. And for some of us, I think a lot of us, no matter how experienced you are, when you still playing tournaments. Like, you can't just be like, "Okay, I'm some PGA professional," and then you throw that guy on the tour. Even if he is like a +6, man, he's in a whole different environment. He's
Yep.
gotta get used to playing in front of people. He's gotta get used to the travel. He's gotta get used to all these external factors that people don't realize, and so, some people, it takes them a good 4 or 5 years. I mean,
Yeah.
Finau, same way, right? I don't think he made money for the first 9 years he was on tour, and that's why he went on the big break and blah, 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 but you gotta give the man credit because once he figured it out, boom, he started playing some really, really good golf, and that's just how it is, man. Golf is sort of situational in a way to where you can't expect people to just immediately figure it out, and I
Yeah.
think that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize too is, well, Tiger Woods, which I know he's an anomaly, but Tiger Woods, I mean, his junior career and amateur career were phenomenal, so we all knew that he was a promising prospect there, but he was still getting handed guaranteed money every year, his first 5
Mhm.
years on tour. I think it was 8,000,000 a year. It's like 40,000,000 total. So this dude, before on January 1st, when he stepped out on that tournament, wherever essentially the beginning of the year, he already had 8,000,000 in the bank. So to him to be comfortable, it was much easier of a path, and then you combine that with his immense talent, it's a like a wildfire.
Well, I
Um,
wonder if that has anything to do with the kinda upswing. It's kind of an argument to your point, I guess, but maybe Peter Uline just was really kind of under the gun with the PGA Tour system that you either win and eat or you don't and you starve, and so
yes,
the guaranteed money might have been just what'll let him relax and play the game that he knows how to play.
dude, 100%.
Also, maybe the 3 weeks between tournaments where he maybe is a little bit more of a grinder and tinkerer, and he's out there with a longer sort of process to his cycle than other players. I don't know. I don't know
Exactly.
anything about him, but it's
That
possible.
makes total sense, though. I mean, that would be that yeah, if I get guaranteed money and I know that if I fail these 3 tournaments, I still have a couple million in the bank, well, then I'm not going to have the pressure of feeling like that I have to make a cut to make a paycheck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, people with more money can gamble better. I
Yes.
mean, they're on the course because they don't give a shit if they win or lose. Like, the person
Dude.
who's doing that to actually like, that money is important to them, they're
Mhm.
gonna have, like, a whole other thing that they're thinking about that they shouldn't be thinking about while they're trying to play golf.
I think that's what a lot of those guys that's what separates them from being like the Scotty Schefflers is this mentality. And I think, like you said, you can develop that mentality through your environment and your external pressures there. And if I don't have that external pressure of money, I mean, can you imagine how many players we've seen that probably didn't perform as well, not because they didn't have the talent, but because they had so much external pressure from underlying reasons that we never really got to see their true potential?
Yeah, and the ones that figure it out, even with that pressure, I'd
Yeah.
like to learn more about those situations. I can't really name one right off the top of my head. Yeah, it's
Um,
like the cognitive faculties that it demands is completely different, and the psychology then it's not just about how you're thinking about it, it's about how much brain power you have to dedicate to the thing at hand is really interesting. I'd like to look that up and see, examples of players that were really under the gun financially and made a career out of it.
I know, and I feel like those stories are gonna be harder and harder to find nowadays. I think a lot of stories you would hear about something like that would be maybe the '80s, '90s, early 2000s era,
Mhm.
where that obviously didn't cost nearly as much to be a part of it, but once you hit the 2010s and you got after that, the usual cost, I think, for a PGA Tour event is between 150 to 250,000 for the year. And I just lost 6 figures worth of money. Like, to me, I would be sick to my stomach,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I would be like, "Holy shit, dude, I just lost my ass." We've traveled all over the country. I can't do shit with this ball, and yeah, it's just, "Okay, well, we'll try again." Sweet, alright. There's been many times that I will show up to a mini tour event, and I barely brought enough money to stay for the hotel, and I would play so bad that I would withdraw from that tournament the first day so that I could go home and work a couple extra days and save up enough money to where I could feel comfortable enough because I was tired of sleeping in my car, right? I couldn't do that. There's one tournament I show up, I shoot 77, some shit, and I'm literally bottom half of the pack, and it's a 3-day tournament. I was at It was some Winston-Salem called Tanglewood. I can't think of the tour. It was some external, I don't know, it cost quite a bit too. It was probably an $800-900 entry fee. And I was so pissed off, man, because I get there and I didn't even play a practice round because I can't afford to go here, stay in a hotel, whatever. I would just show up and be like, okay, we're just gonna play it by ear, try to shoot a couple under.
So
And
follow
I think,
everyone else.
dude,
Where are they going?
I shot 7 over, 6 over, and okay, well, I'm out of the loop, and I look at the hotel and it's like $120 a night, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll go to this other hotel, and the cheapest one I find is 150. And I'm sitting there and, well, dude, if I go home, I can go back and play these 1-day events and get some experience that way. And then I could save my money so that
Mhm.
I don't have to sit in a hotel and then show up and play a tournament that I've already lost money on.
Yeah.
Right? And so and
Yeah.
people were like, "Well, what are you doing? You're not you need to hang in there." And well, dude, I have to really think about where I'm spending my money
Yeah.
because if I don't earn money from these things, it's a waste of time for me. I'm not saying I would enjoy the experience. I would definitely do that, but from a financial standpoint, there's no reason for me because there was no cut in that event. It was a 3-day event. I can't even think the name of the tour. It was some tour that went all over the Southeast. But
Mm.
I'm thinking, well, dude, there's no way I'm gonna pay $500 for experience when I can save that and get experience on another tour that's a 1-day tournament and potentially make some money back. Like,
Yeah.
why would I waste my money on experience? I can't.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there in the car and dude, you gotta go home. I mean, you need to go home, go back and play the mountain golf tour, which is only in the Carolinas. It's funny because I actually played it against George Bryan a few times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's from Aiken, South Carolina, and he didn't play in those that much, but I probably played in a handful, 5, 7 of them, and never made money on any of them. I
Mm.
That's the thing is when I turned pro, the breakout, I would maybe shoot 69 occasionally, but to shoot at 65, I'm like, dude, I need to figure it out. But
Mhm.
then I okay, well, you show up to the tournament. Oh, you learned something new. Show up to the tournament. Oh, you learned something new again. Show up again, blah, blah, blah. And it's always been just this, okay, I'm not going to spend money. I could sleep in my car. And again, I'm spending time and money and effort on a situation that I'm not going to make money on. Why I would rather waste my time knowing that, okay, I have a chance to make money today.
Mhm.
Whereas in that 3-day tournament, it was just, it would have been like, well, you're paying for experience. I'm like, it's a lot harder to say that when you're literally counting the $100 bills leaving your pocket. There's 100 here. Okay, I only have this many left.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
go back to caddying out in Bandon. And the sectional events are nice because you can still make some monies per day. So those I enjoy a lot because even if you play like shit 1 day, the second day, if you do well enough and make some skins or whatever, you can at least be like, okay, I got some money back. We're not just burning them up, throwing them in a pit of fire. But
Yeah, it leads to an idea that I've been having about this year's tournaments, what I want to play in or what I could play in, whatever. Part of me is like, yeah, I'm not getting any younger. I'm 42 and I can still move it, but do I want to go play in a US Open qualifier with these kids that are playing fucking 8 hours a day? And not to like put a limit on myself, but wouldn't it make more sense to just do your best, clean up and feel like you've gotten to a good point locally and then say, okay, now I can level up. I've proven that I'm one of the better players in the state again. Now it's worth that next level. And so I wonder if part of maybe what you were running into along with the finances is like just the knowledge that you
right.
haven't competed at that next level. And when you do, if you can't find a flow state to be able to shoot the numbers that you need to shoot just to hang, then
Well,
I think psychologically you just kind of know I'm not really in this tournament. I'm just here playing golf.
if I if
Those last 2 days for you would have just been practice rounds.
and my dad said the same thing. And again, some people are like, "Well, dude, you gaining experience, you're this or that." I'm not though, because the element of consequence is completely gone now. There is
Mhm.
no consequence. There's nothing to gain or lose from this. All it is me seeing that if it's available. And again, and if I had the money, sure, I could see where that would be a positive because you are teaching yourself some stuff. Like you said, am I going to be in that same mindset? Because if I do shoot 68 and then I got to show up tomorrow and shoot the same score, that's still not the same as me shooting 78 and being like, well, I'm just going to show up today. You're going to have to shoot like 62 just to have a chance. I mean, God bless, dude. If you can pull that off, good on you. But I mean, if I've never shot anything under 68 in a tournament, and it's just there's some leveling up you need to do. And
Hmm.
I totally agree with you. That's what I do a lot. When I moved out here, I'm going to do caddy tournaments, and then I'm going to do sectional events. And so I did caddy tournaments, and I started doing well, winning some stuff. And okay, cool. Then we go do sectional events. I started making cuts in majors, and then one of the majors I shot, I think, 5 under on one of the nines. Okay, we're going to start figuring this out, and then I get suspended for a year.
Hmm.
But that leveling up thing is super smart because, again, the tree might not be as hard to climb, but if you're doing it under pressure and you can tell yourself, look, I just completed this task under pressure. Okay, well, let's level up the pressure. Let's make the tree harder to climb. Let's try again. And then you do that again. And then you keep trying and trying until that succeeds. And then then you level up even more. And which I admire about you is because you're going to a tournament trying to learn, and I think that's something that a lot of people need to embrace, because if we go to tournaments with expectations that we can't control, then that's when things can get kind of awry. But if we go to a tournament that we don't have a lot of experience at in terms of the level of quality of play, but I go to that tournament knowing that I'm here to learn and I'm here to embrace what needs to be done and the environment and everything else, I think you'll learn much faster that way.
Yeah, I mean, especially once you start getting to around scratch, you don't play with a whole lot of people that are better than you. You've kind of reached the top 1% of golfers.
Yeah.
And so it's not the same as a 15 handicap playing with their 5 handicap friend and they're going, "Oh, what are you doing there?" And they just rapidly kind of absorb just by experience what to do, what not to do. But the only way to get that experience is to play in events where there are better players. And then you go, "Oh, okay. I didn't realize you could be that good at golf."
Yeah.
I see the guys on TV do it, but that's kind of it's almost like its own world. But
It's
seeing somebody that's almost at that level in real life right there in a tournament next to you, I mean, it's belittling if you have an ego about yourself, but if you're just kind of self-aware and you go, "Yeah, I mean, I'm not as good as that guy is, but there's some shit that I can learn from him."
100, dude, and especially when you're around it. You
Yeah.
hear the ball, you see
Mhm.
them how they interact with the golf course, and you see them how they interact with their emotions on failure and stuff. That to me is huge. I think, and like you said, when you're watching it on TV, it's like watching a movie. You're not
Mhm.
gonna really be like, "Oh, okay, I've watched this movie, now I understand." Like, you can't watch a war movie and then grab an AR-15. I'm ready to go, dude. I'm in the trenches, dude. I'm ready to roll. Like, that's just it's not it. You go into the trenches with an AR-15, I would assume you're like, "Okay, this is not like the movie, dude. Holy fuck. I don't know what to do." And that's the same thing. I think we've realized this, but what I think we need to really keep understanding is the people we watch on TV are playing their best golf at that situation. You're not watching these pros fail. You're watching pros succeed over and over and over again. Now, maybe the final group on Sunday, you'll see a guy shoot 2 or 3 over, but what you've noticed is that camera crew is like, "Okay, hey, let's not view him as much. He's having a tough day." Like the Anthony Kim thing with him and Bryson and John Rahm, they were not showing a lot of Bryson for a little while because he was like
Mhm.
3 over
Mhm.
par. Even though he's in the final group, we're getting a lot of attention from Anthony Kim. He just had 6 birdies in the last 12 holes. All right, well, let's just watch every move he does. And then people are like, well, that's how I got to play. Dude, Anthony Kim a year and a half ago was not doing shit, right? And again, obviously he's a very talented dude. But what we're seeing on TV is we're seeing the best moments of these guys. And it puts a perception on the amateur who's watching it like, okay, I can play the whole day this way.
Yeah.
No, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah, Claude Harmon III talked about that on his pod. Is a really good point. It's the best players in the world at their very best.
Yes.
That's what you're seeing. Like, it is absolutely so far from everything that you
Uh,
can do, and
yeah.
so just to improve their score and to feel better about their day and have a good time, man, it might be more fun in theory, but the
Yeah.
reality is that it's gonna be less fun.
Oh, 100%. And even from his standpoint, he knows he got some good bounces. He got lucky with his speeds on the green. He took the firm lines and they held their line. And God bless him. And obviously he's experienced and he knows all this stuff. But as really good golfers, my speed's off on the greens and I don't hit my lines. Dude, we are looking at a disaster unfold. I mean, I could bogey 4 holes in a row from 3 putts. And it's not because I hit bad putts, it's because of misjudging speed, maybe getting a little bit off of bounds there. Maybe I'm on Poana, who knows? But there's a lot of things that have to go together in order for you to play really that kind of golf. And when we see it on TV, they make it look very simple, and it's just not. It's much more in depth, especially on a 15 footer. You can hit if it's breaking a cup and a half, 2 cups. I mean, you got 3, 4 different lines you can take. Now, if you're taking the dying line, your speed better be absolutely perfect,
Hmm.
right? And so there's this threshold between too firm and too soft. We know the banana peel there. And it's just incredible that if you can match that speed with your line and you're doing it on a consistent basis, you got to run with it. But there's a lot of days where you're like, okay, the putter doesn't feel good. I got to start taking the softer lines because I'm tired of 3 putting. And then you realize you're protecting your round, not because you're trying to do anything else. You're just trying to be smart, make a decent score. And that's why it's much more complicated, I think, than it is just watching a guy hit lines and knock them in. It's you got to know your speeds. I mean, there was a few of those birdie putts. If he didn't touch the hole, that thing was 5, 6, 7 feet by the hole, and he's in the lead in the tournament. 3 putts, 1 hole, and then all of a sudden you start laying off the gas. Then you got John Rahm up your ass. That's the thing that we have to remember. He has experience that is beyond even the normal PGA Tour pro. He's played Ryder Cups. He dealt with prime Tiger Woods.
Psychology is unbelievable.
Yes, he understands, I think, through and through what he needs to do in order to prevail in those moments because he's done it before, even if he took 10 years off. So to dive into the AK thing, to pivot off of all that, it's phenomenal what he's done. I think the storyline behind his dark years, and I think
Hmm.
obviously drug use there. I don't know for sure what it is, or because he always talks about being sober. So I would assume there's some drug use involved. And for him to one, be given a chance, I think is amazing. I think somebody took a good chance on him. Two, to see him be as good of a father as he is, I think that is exceptional. I think his storyline and what he has done is he's given people obviously hope, but I think he's reiterating to a lot of these professionals what really matters in life. And I think that's why a lot of why he was able to perform because of his dark years and his experience through those dark years really helped him out on putting things in perspective. So it's
Yeah, he gave himself a chance. He really like number 2 was really the most important part. It was his self-belief and saying, "I'm gonna make something great of my life,
yes,
and I'm not going to squander it." And he probably would have succeeded at whatever he decided to do 'cause he seems like that kinda guy.
right,
But he just looked at like, well, I have been expert, absolute top notch, one of the best people in the world at this thing called golf. So why not go there?
right,
I have some equity in that.
yeah,
So he goes and cashes in some of that equity, and some of that is his name, his brand, and so on. But it's a smart business decision at that point. And
yeah,
you're right. He had to have someone that saw the story and said, you know what? If you do this and I'm supporting you and we're going to go on this journey together, this could be the coolest thing in maybe the history of all the sports. Let's do it.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
Um,
and not only that, he's going to start touching lives of people outside the golf world
mhm.
from this story. Pat McAfee, I think he posted about it not that long ago, but to see him get involved in that story, you're going to have people like that that are adjacent to the golf and the sporting world. They're going to post it, and then their fans are going to get involved, and so it's going to grow outside of golf. And that's what creates the movement. And one, I think that's the core of golf, any sport really, is to one, give people some sort of reassurance in life that there's good things in life and that they feel inspired. And that to me is true recreation, especially professional recreation, is to create inspiration for people to do good things in the world and to be good people and to bring that energy to other parts of the world in their life. And even him doing what he did, now we have people that work a 9 to 5 job that actually feel inspiration from that. And that's the core of everything. That's what the PGA Tour lacks, in my opinion, some
Mhm.
days. they take golf too seriously, and I'm not
Yep.
saying golf shouldn't be serious, but it's at the end of the day, it is just a plastic ball on a glorified field.
Mhm.
And the PGA really takes this high road, almost pretentious sort of outlook on things. And I think having that AK story will bring everyone back to base and then make it realize, like, okay, this is just golf. This is just a sport, but this sport can unite people and it can bring the best out of somebody. And
Mhm.
because of that, I can then use that to be a better person in my life, even if I don't like golf or sports, to see these stories. And I think that's the core of where recreation thrives on.
Well, I was just gonna say I think the other thing about it, it's interesting. They did a psychological study of European tour players, of the ones who had made it into competition and were kind of like on the tour but lost their cards, versus the players that maintained their cards and made a career. You know, they got some sort of rubric for it, like 5+ years or something. And they had five commonalities that they had an incredible amount of consistency with. One of them was some of them were like a good community growing up. They played other sports, stuff like that. But one of them that I think was most interesting was that all these players that created a career out of it, they had a real solid sense of why. Call it higher power, if you will, or they had some sort of reason outside of just do it for my ego, do it for golf. And I think that doesn't just help with the grind. I think it helps maintain purpose in the moment too when they're out there playing. Like AK, he's just thinking about his daughter. He's not really thinking about how much money am I getting, how much
Yeah.
attention, how much stability for my career. All of that
Yeah.
is really just around like, this is going to be such a cool moment for her.
And that's something I've had a hard time with. I tend to be too ego with my golf game. And so my motives were selfish.
It's hard
Instead,
not to be. It's so hard not to be. It's like the one of the hardest things in golf is to not feel like you're hot shit after you do something great, and then what comes next? Double bogey.
yep, man. And like feeling like you deserve stuff because
Mhm.
of something like, well, I played this round or I won this tournament. So therefore I need respect and my dignity is what's more important than the reality of the situation. That's something I've worked on, is thinking that because you're athletic, because you performed well under pressure, because you have records and all this stuff, even as small as like high school records, that doesn't mean that you're better than another human being, right?
I think you get subsumed by the narrative that you talked about earlier that the PGA Tour propagates, that is just the legacy and the some
Yes.
important part of a person. You ever seen that interview with Mike Tyson where he's probably high on mushrooms and they're like, "What do you think about your legacy?" What's legacy? That's just ego. That's not real. Like he's just like he shoots the question down, and I think it was really funny because it was Nick Jr. or something, and so it was this teenage reporter, and he just lambasts her on the idea of legacy. It's just like I totally don't care.
Yeah, see, and sure, Mike probably had to learn that as he got older,
Mm,
but it's so refreshing when you hear people like that, dude. It's just a game, or yeah, what is legacy? I mean, your legacy should be embodied by what kind of person you are, what kind of relationship you have with your family, if you believe in God or whatever. There's bigger things beyond what we do for a living in sports and all this stuff. And I think, like you said, these guys that perform really well in their tournaments and under pressure, they have such a solid base and understanding that because they really know what reality is.
possibly not even doing it so that their family members remember them as a good person. It's
Yes.
honestly just to help other people's lives and not even try to be the star of that show.
He wouldn't
Absolutely.
give a shit. He would not. He'd be like, "Yeah, I don't care. I got to do what I got to do." And that to me is something that's a story that he provided through his playing and how well he did playing in that tournament. That gave a lot of people hope. But like you said, I don't think he was there being like, "Check this out. I was once a drug addict. Now I'm sober. I'm about to win a tournament because I'm going to prove to people that I'm this and that as a golfer." I think he was just enjoying the fact of playing golf again. And
Mhm.
that's just something he's good at. If he was on the 17th hole and they were like, "Hey, dude, you gotta quit because you got something going on with your family," he would walk off no problem.
There's going back to our previous conversation when we were talking about the old Scottish designers versus the British designers, and this
Yes.
is like in the genesis of the game, and there was this battle, and the British designers wanted to make it more like tennis, where it's just the court is the court, it's always perfect,
Yep.
perfect grass, perfect squares. There's a standardized idea of what golf should be done, how it should be played. And the Scottish people were like, "Fuck that! No, this should be absolute test of your ability to go out there." I mean, it's almost like a rooted in hunting. I don't know that there's any reality to this, but I've thought about how golf has all these similarities to hunting, where you go out shooting birds and you trekking along and stuff. And any serious hunter doesn't just do fair weather. And so going back to it, it's just the same with modern golf and everything going on right now. It's the PGA is trying to standardize it and to make it as
Yes.
kind of user friendly as possible for the players, but then also that helps ratings if they see bigger numbers or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I watch more when it's a really tough tournament personally, but then
Same
again, I'm
here.
also very much on the side of golf should be hard and it's way more interesting when it is.
I agree. I think the more you get into golf, the more you appreciate that. I think the modern fan's not going to stand out there in the rain. They want to sit in a nice, cushy seat where it's 80 degrees out and they can drink their cocktail and they can watch a dude play golf. So there is a financial element there that they have to pertain to. I didn't think of that. That makes total sense. But in a way, it's conditioned these golfers to to feel like they have the reason to.
Entitlement.
Yes, it's this entitlement deal, and it's like they're trying their hardest to make sure their product is appealing, and so they'll make the rules up as they go. They will sacrifice players, they will bring players in, they will make golf courses with short rough, they will keep it nice weather. They have all these elements that they're trying to do to create that viewership and to maintain that relevance because they're so financially motivated, and I think sometimes being this financially motivated, we tend to lose sight of one, what people want to see and what the reality is. But two, I think we lose sight of the motive here. Are we
Mhm.
trying to create recreation to benefit our society? Because recreation is very good for our society in terms of mental health, getting people away from their jobs. That's really why we have recreation. It's to embody a better mental health around how we live. And I feel like with golf, with it being so financially tied, we've lost sight of that in a way.
Australia courses are so fun to watch. I mean, I'm a big proponent of sacking the PGA Championship and having the Australian Open be a fourth major.
So cool.
They play it on a Mackenzie course, and so I love that idea of having 2 Mackenzie courses. One is the weird Australian desert, the other
Yeah.
being the Augusta course, obviously. But when you watch the Australian Open, and I mean, Rory played in it, and there was a handful of live guys, like, it was a great field, and what's awesome too for us in the US watching is it's the only those are like that one in Adelaide are the only 2 tournaments that we get to watch wrap up on a Saturday night. It's like watching a prize fight. PGA is just a snooze fest. It used to be awesome. It used to be a match play grind. It was like a marathon.
Wait,
They would play like 2 kind of cut rounds of stroke play, and then after that, they'd pair off into match play for like 2 rounds a day for 3 days. And you talk about entitlement. I mean, there's no way that that's gonna happen. I
no.
mean, these players would definitely be up in arms about that change, but
Oh, yeah.
Australian Open being the 4th major, that would be one worth pining for.
Yes. Yeah. Take away the PGA championship. That's why it's like the players championship. Like, really? But why? Why is
Yep.
that a major? It's a high quality tournament. I'm not gonna argue that, but it's at an American golf course, perfect weather.
Oh,
It's just this it's like any other tournament, dude. I don't wanna see, well, it's a TBC Sawgrass, Island Green. I'm just trying to think like what would people argue with that? I mean, to me, it's like, okay, yeah, they have a Florida swing. They go down to Florida, they play 3 or 4 events, and then they leave. Okay, yeah, Florida's a little tough because they got Bermuda greens, whatever. It gets a little wet around the greens, so they have chipping issues maybe. But the amount of resistance, this is to them is another week playing on the tour. Whereas you go down to Australian Open, you have these super tough golf courses that are very lengthy, very firm, and they don't really play that style of golf that often.
audience reception as well. I mean, you see
Yeah.
the Adelaide crowd as well
Oh
as
yeah.
Australian Open crowds are just
100.
they do drink a lot, but they don't behave like wasted management.
Yes.
They handle their shit, they have a great time, and they're out in mass. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah. Very, very sport friendly environment down there. I think they
Mhm.
love the element of sport, whether it's PGA Tour or the Live Tour. You're going to get Australians that are going to get emotionally invested in those tournaments. And that it's so true. That is, to me, that's got to be one of the best arguments I've heard is get rid of the PGA Championship and make it the Australian Open. That would be phenomenal because now you have the Augusta tournament, right? And that's your pristine golf course, top button tied up.
It's the Mecca, it's the kind of holiest experience.
Right, exactly. And then you have the US Open, which the US Open's always at a super tough golf course. That's why we love it, because the rough is
Mhm,
8 inches thick and the fairways are 20 yards wide. Fuck yeah. Let them eat, baby. Right? So you got those two already. And then you get to the Open where they're having to battle the elements, and it's usually on a link style course, so they have to play much different style of golf. Right. So you
mhm.
already got three different styles of golf. You got a pristine country club with a lot of nostalgia, and it's kind of like the home of United States golf. Now you have the US Open, which provides one of the toughest challenges on their schedule by far. And then you get the Open Championship, which is a completely different style of golf. And it's got this Scottish style of golf where you might get a bad bounce, man. It's just the way it goes. A little
Mhm.
bit of luck in there, whatever, but at least you have those three elements there. You got three different style of golf tournaments, which requires a person to play different levels of their game. And then you have the Australian Open, which again is a link style golf, maybe a blend between that and the Open. You
It's kinda like a desert, yeah, it's I don't
right?
even know what to classify it as. It's like a combination of
Oh,
all 3. It's just a weird its own thing.
yeah, right. And then you have the element of the fans. You're going to get a huge fan base down there, and they're going to show up in droves down there. And it's not in the United States, which I think makes total sense because eventually the PGA Tour and the Live Tour, I think, are gonna have to merge. I don't know, or they need to create a world tour that goes
Mhm,
around everywhere and plays all these events, shows up in the United States, just keeps showing up all these places, which the PGA Tour is, I guess, starting to evolve to. But I think that's what's going to have to happen is if, okay, we have a United States tour, we have a Canadian tour, we have the Latin America tour, we have the European tour. And then if you do well in those, you go to the world tour.
mhm.
The world tour is like, okay, these are all the best of the best. And they travel around the world and they play against each other.
And limited events as well. I mean,
Yes.
make it so that you have your 4 majors and maybe just 4 to 6 tournaments on top of that. Like, those
Yes.
are the big events, and
Yep.
you wanna have your PGA Championship, sure, it can be a sub of one of those, and you can call it the PGA Championship, and you can move it around, and it can be regular American golf as it already
Right,
is.
and you could just make that as like, okay, this is a United States tournament open. So within the United States, we have a professional golf tour that has a couple of high-end major events. Okay, well, let's play the PGA Championship as one of those, and maybe the winner of that can be a part of this world tour. And this world tour, we have countries like Live, but instead of it being like team names, we have Team USA, Team
Mhm,
Mexico, and there's a team element portion to it. There's an individual stroke part of it. And oh, check this out. We can even throw like a match play major in it where we have all these countries and they're representing themselves, a two-man best ball deal, blah, 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 blah. I mean, that to me, and like you said, it'd be like a 12 event schedule, 15 event schedule at most. They play once, twice a month, have at it. They can come back to the play in the US stuff if they want, or they don't have to make the purses nice and big for the boys so they actually enjoy it, allow them to get compensated for flight and travel, whatever. But I think in terms of it trying to be appealing for the world and we're trying to grow something that's bigger than the United States, what we could really do is create a world tour and that way then we can create a United States tour or whatever from there. And then the United States tour, we strictly focus on the United States citizens. That way we give these hometown heroes a chance to make some money playing. Maybe then we can start to create some emotional investment within the United States because, hey, look, I got my buddy plays at this public golf course. Good dude, right? I'm just speaking from a fan's perspective. Oh, yeah, here's our guy. He's from so and so state. Well, let's take him. We have the United States tour that plays 3 times a month for 7, 8 months out of the year. We can throw him in a free qualifier, let him work his way in there, and then, oh, look, he's starting to perform well. Okay, then we can start to give him some aid. And then if he performs well in some of these United States majors, then we put him on the world team.
Yep.
And then,
Parity for the other countries as well, where by qualifying through their region or whatever it is, country, they could achieve the world tour by the same mechanism. That way, it's not just like the road to the PGA Tour is the United States. Like
100,
that's the exact system right now. And so it's just kind of whoever has the most money to invest in their player. Okay,
yeah,
cool. We've grown them up to like a nice state. Let's send them to the United States and let's see if they can make it. I mean,
yes.
there's obviously people that have worked their way through
Oh,
European
yeah.
tour and this and that, and there's a lot of different pathways, but the pathways right now, it just seems like they're so diminished everywhere else except for the US.
Yes. This is a fun stat. About 30 to 40% of Americans fill up PGA Tour fields. It's not even 50%. It's somewhere between 30 to 40% depending on the tournament. And then you're expecting United States citizens who are fans to get emotionally involved in a player that's not even from their home soil. That is a lot
Mhm.
to ask. And that's
Yeah,
why people got so invested in Tiger Woods because he was an American. If you're an American citizen, by all means, you are allowed to perform on this tour. But if we keep putting this financial and emotional investment into these players that aren't even from our soil, and then you expect us to like rally like Hideki. No offense to Hideki, God bless him. He's a great player. Seems like a really nice dude. But when he was winning the Masters, I didn't really give a shit. I mean, oh great, a Japanese guy won the Masters. Good, God bless you. I'm glad you did. But like as an American, we got more invested with Patrick Reed than we did him
yeah,
because
but
Patrick Reed came from the States. I know there's probably a lot of people from Japan watching the Masters. That's awesome too. But why can't we have a guy like him perform in Japan, play tournaments in Japan, or even the Asian cultures, whatever? I don't know how they would do that, but somehow create a system over there, allow them to make money over there playing in their home events, and then we can create this world tour where we have Hideki and those whoever's a part of that circuit. Okay, now they're playing against the Americans, and now we have the Irish. Now we have blah 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 blah. And then you're like, well, wait a minute. Now this is becoming a situation. Now we have fans from all over the world emotionally invested in this tour because
yeah,
we're watching people compete against each other through a country aspect.
yep,
And I mean that's why the Olympics do so well.
yeah. They'll end up pare back the kind of American centric nationalist bet. Look at the Olympics, same shit. They do it, and the entire world watches. I mean, there's curling. I mean, there's stuff in there that
Oh yeah.
maybe people that love curling. I just think of some of the sports that are just so random for people to give a shit about, but they get clued
100%.
into it. And so, yeah, if you were to do that and multiply it by a sport that's a lot more broadly appreciated than the decathlon, or I don't know, what's the one where they go around on skis and shoot with a gun?
Right, and it's and
Like,
I don't even know what that sport is, but if I watch an American win, I'm like, "Fuck yeah, dude. That's awesome." I don't
mhm,
know what you're doing, I don't know how you practice for that. Personally, I don't really care, but the fact that American like the speed skating stuff, "Oh, the fastest speed skater this year is an American." I don't really care about skating, but the fact that it was an American, yes.
absolutely.
I'm emotionally invested in this. I don't even really care. I don't even know the guy's name, but he's holding our flag and he's bringing back something to the soil. Okay, this is awesome. If we can have the same sort of parallel environment for golf, which golf is widely more accepted and gains more interest. I mean, that would be cool. We can even pan it to like 8 events. We have four big events, and then we have four match play events, and we just have
Mhm.
8 tournaments a year that are on a world stage.
The fervor of the Ryder Cup at each one of these events really.
And it's like, and we can bring the live team aspect into it, where instead of it being the Fireballs, it's the Irish,
Yeah.
right? Or it's the English.
They kinda try to emulate that in Live, I've
Yes,
noticed, but they do have Ironheads are Asian team and
yes,
Cliques are
yes.
Scottish and English,
What, the Rippers are Australians, right? I think.
Rippers are Australians, yeah,
Yes.
and
The
so I
Aces
can
the
see that
Aces, I think, are American, I think.
they tried leaning into that a little bit with it to
Yes.
create a sense of fandom around it, but I don't think it was executed to the, strictness that it required to work, and part of that has to do with the fact that, like, Asia, what are you going to do? You have a Japanese, a Korean, and two Chinese guys or something like that. And I don't know if you know about that region.
Oh
The
yeah.
Chinese and the Japanese, they're not like good friends.
No.
It's like,
You talk about racism, boy. That's the heart of racism over there, dude. Maybe there's a little argument where you're like, well, United States has more people to choose from. Russia would have more people to choose from. Russia would be hard to practice golf a lot because they're I feel like some of their areas don't get a lot of good weather. Same with with Canada, right? If you got northern Canadians that are way up there in the sticks, they're not maybe not, but that's where we develop accessibility for these guys if they are interested. Their country is responsible for developing that accessibility for them because of this world tour, and that'll create that competitive edge. But it would be very interesting because there is a lot of countries that aren't nearly as big, and yet if we kept it just at countries, would that end up creating sort of a disadvantage? But I think what we need to realize here is there's availability to make this product better. And I think down the road, it starts with accessibility.
do you think that any of the AK stuff is causing golf to heal? The whole tour?
It's starting to, I don't know about healing. I think it's exposing things that are wrong with it.
Okay.
And so in order for us to heal though, we have to do something about it. That's the thing is I don't know. I do agree that it's bringing things to light and it's allowing things to be present. At some point, the PGA Tour is going to coattail this story. They're trying their hardest right now because if you look on the PGA Tour's Instagram, there is not one single thing about Anthony Kim. But yet you go to the comments and people are talking about it. So they're avoiding it. And that's the problem is they're avoiding it because I don't know the story behind what he did. I know he ruptured his Achilles. What it's exposing is giving people a fair chance. And because not, there's a lot of people that are just as talented as him that never really got that chance. But because Anthony Kim has a history, they were able to then feel entitled to give him a chance because at the least, he's going to bring some viewership of these older fans from the 90s, 2000s that watched him play. Whereas we have guys that maybe didn't get that fair chance. And say, like my buddy, he won Canadian Q school and he got injured, and they said, SOL, you got to try again next year. It's like, well, dude, he won Canadian Q school.
Yeah, there's definitely equity in they see their players as their product. And if they have a certain amount of fan equity, then I think that they are going to be more lenient because they've already invested in them. It's already a proven model. I guess just as a shrewd business person, you could think like that's the way to handle the situation. But I think that you have to balance just with everything, inviting new people in while also retaining your fan base.
Yes.
And the issue that the tour runs into with everything that they do is that they're super short-sighted, which suggests that they're cash poor, that they need to rely on like a hotel would. Like we need to have an offer every single month to make sure that we're driving enough new revenue just to cover our books and stay in existence. More established companies, the Berkshire Hathaways in the world, they don't give a fuck about what happens 5 years from now. They still don't care. Like they're thinking so far ahead in terms of how to grow their business. And so, yeah, it's short sighted and it's not really thinking about like the lifetime value of the source of revenue for them.
100%. And that's why they created that for-profit company.
Hmm.
And that's why they got these billionaires from that sports strategic group to back that company and to give investment money because now they can promise these players equity. So they have this for-profit company. They've invested the sports strategic group or the sports strategic group invested in it and they made it a for-profit entity because of, like you said, they're short-sighted on cash. And so they get a big old offer and they get $3 billion of this company to throw money at them so that now they can promise equity for their players. And so that'll help retain these players. But like you said, if we're getting guys from like Chile and Venezuela or wherever, we don't have emotional value there. And so they're not thinking about the longevity of the product. They want this immediate gratification. And as you know, like Ferrari and Lamborghini, for example, they're not really concerned about selling cars. They're worried about the quality of the car that they're selling. And that to me is what creates longevity is
Hmm.
thinking about things that matter and thinking about things about, okay, if I have to sacrifice some things, then I have to maybe spend some money or do whatever I have to do, but this is what's going to create longevity for me in the long run. And like you said, since they're short-sighted, they're making investments based on reactionary. And that's why the whole Brooks Koepka thing looks like a desperation thing for me, because it was like, okay, let's change the rules up as we go. We need to do something fast because viewership's not really increasing enough for our investors to feel like this is a credible product. So let's bring somebody in that maybe brings some pull fan base. He's got a credible status because he's got 5 majors,
He's got a Nike swoosh, and they're in their ear too. Like,
right?
come on,
Exactly.
guys.
It's like reactionary investments, and to me, you can't do that, especially in sports, because again, it's just recreation. We're not talking stock markets kind of stuff where things can get volatile. We're talking about recreation that people can invest in for long periods of time, and you can maintain that investment if you do it right. And so, and I think the Anthony Kim thing has exposed their motives, and
Yeah,
it's shown the world like, hey, by the way, this PGA Tour, if they don't find you valuable, not only are they going to just throw you in the shit, they're going to completely disown you. They're going to figure out how to make quick money fast instead of actually taking a step back and being like, okay, let's ask the American fans what they want.
hmm
Have you ever noticed that they never do that? They never sit back and go, okay, what do you guys want to watch?
They have a god complex. It's really clear that they're untouchable, unquestionable. My favorite alternate universe is where Brooks Koepka got paid off by the Saudis to go back to the PGA Tour to become a spokesperson, like a mole.
It's like a Trojan horse. Oh shit, dude, that would
Uh,
be. And then he like purposely plays like shit to tank their product even more, and then he gets back to
I was thinking you'd try to get the Rory status where he's up there making the calls
oh,
and
even
making
better.
suggestions. That he's in the boardroom, like telling them how they should do things. It's all
You
just
guys
a,
need to merge with Live, by the
what?
way. And they're like,
What about a
wait a minute.
Super Bowl? The people all want it.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Randomly has a document in his pocket. He's like, okay, if you could just sign here and here, we can get this done.
And then you find out in the news, yeah, so Brooks Koepka all of a sudden is no longer playing in PGA events. He's back on Live Golf, and he's made a whole new team now. And he's brought a few Americans with him from the tour. And you're like, who? He's like, well, Colin Morikawa and some other guys have gone with him now. And you're like, oh my God, dude, he just fucking sideswiped the tour. And that's the thing is it's exactly what I've been telling people. Everyone got so invested to think that the Titanic was unsinkable, that they didn't think ahead. They just thought that they could live in the moment and just think reactionary. And then, as you know, an iceberg could just show up out of nowhere, dude. And now you're like, fucked.
hmm
And then what? You're just going to watch it sink and you can't do anything about it now because you're fucked.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's,
I'm not in the boardroom at the PGA Tour. I don't actually know what their books look like, but if you're just doing it based on behavior, they are behaving like somebody that's a few months behind on rent.
yes, 100%.
I played in a Western Colorado Open 2 summers ago, and there was a guy named Matthew Zions that used to play on the European Tour, and he came over, got his AM status back, so that's why he was in this event, and it was the calmest 68, I mean, I've ever seen. He missed so many birdie putts.
Right. Yeah,
It
he was
was
probably
like
pissed. He wasn't
he
even
was
happy about that 68, I'm sure.
I mean, he did not miss a single shot. I think he missed 1 green all day and then chipped in or almost chipped in. I can't remember, but I know it was no issue. This completely clean scorecard and just was, like, burning the edges on 6 other birdie putts that would have
Yeah.
taken him down to whatever,
Yeah.
still
Right.
4 or something. And
Yeah.
it's just like, "Holy shit, dude, there are levels to this." Yeah, I don't know why it didn't work out for him professionally, but it's just one of those things where it's like, there's so much damn talent in the golf world.
If I was the PGA Tour, I would really sit back and be like, okay, we need to make Q School free. We need to create a pre-qualifying stage where it's 36 holes and all these people can show up. If you shoot a certain score, you will then go to the stage one. We won't charge you anything. We will make the hotel free. All you have to do is travel here. You've been invited to stage one. Thank you for coming. Now it's your time to shine.
Yeah, televise it, get sponsors behind it. There's not a difficult mechanism for
Oh,
making that
oh,
work
trust me.
financially.
They paid Tiger Woods in 2024. They paid him $25 million to be a player director.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, pay him a million, maybe 500,000. Take that money, pay for the hotels, make things work, dude. You can't make something work for 20 some $1 million. You're nuts. Tiger Woods needs the money. No, he fucking doesn't. He does not need that money. Okay? You paid Patrick Cantlay $18 million to be a player director. Dude, if you can't live on $1 million a year, like you need to wake the fuck up. Sorry. Okay. You're playing on a tour where you have access to a seven-figure salary. And now because you're a player director, you're getting an eight-figure salary. All you have to do is take the money from the player directors, push it into the Q school, create a system that allows people a chance without having to spend an arm and a leg. If you can create that and say, hey, look, we're going to create a pre-qualifying deal where it's in all 50 states, 48 states. You show up to this venue. If there's 300 guys, make it two venues. I don't give a shit. Figure it out, right? We can do a pre-sign up beforehand, do something, and even better, do it at a public course so that way that public course gets recognition, right? We
Mhm,
can give back to the public golf sector there. And then what we can do is we can weed out the shit. And once we weed out the shit, we will pay for these guys through the stages. And then all of a sudden on the fourth stage, you're going to have the best of the best possibility for that year. And then once you're done with that, okay, you give these guys, if they qualify for the Corn Ferry Tour, you give them $300,000 up front. Give them a six-figure number. Fine. Let them play. Let them spend that money traveling to tournaments, using it however they want. If they fail, okay, go back to Q school, play the 36 hole thing, try again.
mhm.
You have tons of money to be able to do this. They keep paying these player directors. The commissioner is getting 16 million a year. Why the fuck are you needing that money? Why? What are you doing for 16 million fucking dollars? What are you doing? Like, are you
Keep
saving the world, man?
he's keeping the game nice and slow. He's the voice in there that's just like,
I
"No, I
mean,
think we'd have 3.5 minutes per shot."
that's what I mean. He's getting paid 16 million for this. And it's funny because every time I saw Jay Monahan at the Amex, he's literally playing in the tournament. Like, what are you doing playing? I
Perks
mean,
of the
you're getting
job, I
you're getting
guess.
you're getting paid eight-figure salary, dude. Like, you should be running around with your head cut off. You're playing golf, dude. What the fuck's wrong with you? And that's the thing is, will they do this? I don't know. But you talk about thinking about longevity of the sport. Here you go. That's a great formula because now you're going to have people like the guy you played with who turned amateur. He's going to be like, wait a minute. I don't have to pay for shit. I just have to show up. That's interesting.
Maybe I should stop cleaning up on these amateur events and actually play against my peers.
I don't have to pay for shit. I just have to show up.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting. And then all of a sudden, you're going to start having these guys that are no names that are filthy as shit. And then
Mhm,
you're going to hear those stories and you're going to be like, well, wait a minute. This is a story I relate to. Wait a
mhm.
minute. This is a good player. Oh, he's competing in the US Open now. Well, he's from a guy whose family averaged 50 grand a year. Oh, guess what? You think the middle class is going to want to be a part of that? Fuck yeah, we are. So I think if they don't do something fast within the 5 years, the sports strategic group is going to pull their money, and these players are not going to have any more equity.
Yeah,
And
0% of 0 is 0.
right, and then what's going to happen is they're going to be like, "Okay, I thought you promised me equity." Well, see what happens is the you did, but that money's gone now, and they're gonna be like, "Well, fuck you, dude. What? Like, I would have gone to live." Which that's what's going on in the locker room still. They're not going to talk about it.
Mhm.
But there's players looking at Brooks and being like,
The fuck?
I should have taken that money.
Yeah, that could have been me. I just missed out on 300
I could have
mil or
taken
something.
$50 million,
Mhm,
and if I would have taken that $50 million, I could have had my chance to go back on the PGA Tour 4 years later. Fuck, I would have
mhm,
done that.
mhm.
Shotgun starts listening to music. Fuck, I don't give a shit. Why not?
Well, and the reality is the regular season doesn't really even matter to the better players. It's kinda just practice, and they
Oh,
they
yeah.
do it just to kinda warm up for the majors, but
Yeah.
They all know the best players are at the majors. The value to their career is kind of judged by the majors. It's where all the best players are, so it becomes a much more compelling event. Yeah,
I
yeah, it
know.
goes without saying. Like, I'd love to see a Super Bowl. I think everybody's kind of talked about that. Like, it would be great to see Live versus PGA, just to have another thing.
And then,
There's so many opportunities right now. It
yep,
is crazy. And I don't know, the irrational optimist in me makes me think that capital will motivate them, eventually break their will and force the better issues. But I don't know. I think it's just going to take time.
it is. And the thing I'm worried about is greed. The people in charge who are making this healthy salary
Hmm.
are worried that they're not suffocating their product. They just don't care because they are making their money. And so, like I said, they're very reactionary. They won't do shit until shit hits the fan. And if shit does hit the fan and it's too much shit that hits the fan to the point where they can't recover, that could be an issue. Hopefully they can get in front of it. But I can tell you right now, and I think you agree with me on this, it's a slow decline in the
Hmm.
United States for pro golf. It's a very small decline, but it is declining in terms of interest and in terms of growth. I think more or less we are pushing more international players on our soil to perform because they come from wealthy families, and two, that's all they really have left available. Because I had a father. He's got a daughter and she's a really good player. And he's playing a lot more local events. He doesn't get to play that many national tournaments. He does here and there. And I'm like, well, how much did you spend on just these tournaments for her? And he goes, we are clearing 60,000 a year on spending to get her to these tournaments. 60,000 a year for her to have a legit chance. I just don't understand. I'm like, "How do you afford that?" He says, "Well, luckily I make a good amount of money." But he's like, "Dude, this is not for the faint of heart. This is a very long and hard process that we have to deal with. And we're having to budget now, and we can only do certain amount of events per month because we can't afford to do them weekly like some of these families can." And I'm thinking,
Hmm.
"Oh, there's families that are spending more money than that?" Oh, and he goes, "Oh, yeah. We're one of the lower end, spectrum of this whole shit." And I'm like, "Oh my god." And I have 2 boys, dude, that are can already hit a golf ball off the ground, and they're not even 3 years old yet. And it's like, what am I if they have that same aspiration as me, not to mention they're no offense to whoever, they're gonna be learning from me, and I've figured out the golf game somewhat decent. I mean, they're gonna have a much better chance than I had it because they got a PGA Pro at their fingertips. What am I gonna tell them? "Ah, we just can't afford it?" I mean, can you
Hmm.
imagine? That would just be that's brutal. That's a brutal
Hmm.
thing to face as a kid. So, I think a lot of what the PGA Tour needs to do is they need to make it accessible for people to have a chance at pursuing it, and then what they really need to do is they need to create a national tour circuit that parallels the same financial spectrum as I was talking about with the Q school. Free of charge, free hotel. All you gotta do is show up. If you can show up, you're in. You're in. You get to we have all these D1 coaches, D2 coaches here. We pay those coaches to be there. You are taken care of financially. Sorry you had to pay money for gas, but and that I think the best part is if that national tour can follow the PGA Tour, that would make it easier because you can bring employees that are volunteering for the PGA Tour. You can double that and use those volunteers and pay for them to do the junior tour. And you could do a local public course on top of that. That way you're giving this public course recognition to help the public golf sector, which will then help these PGA professionals in the pro shops. But see, that's the thing is no one, I mean, I'm the hater on the internet that just talks shit.
Well,
People,
the powers that be, it's not in their best interest. I mean, if say you work at Amex and, you're making incredible money and your kid's a competitive player, I mean, it's just why would he encourage the tour to do something that's not in his kid's best interest? So it just kind of comes down to the tour changing their psychology about it and their
yeah,
business practice to be thinking more about the quality of really making the best players, the best stories come to life
yeah.
rather than just kind of doing what's right there.
That's what I mean. Instead of it being reactionary, we need to think longevity and
Hmm.
we need to take things away from the greed side of our thinking and be more on the side of, okay, look, okay, we need to modify things. If I have to take money from corporate, fine, but it's not about how much money we make. It's about saving the longevity of the sport. And that's going to be a hard thing to do to someone who's making, again, like 16 million a year. Hey, dude, we're gonna cut you down to a million. He talk about losing their fucking mind. But hey, I would love to get paid $1 million a year,
Mhm.
right? So you're gonna have people willing to fill in his spot.
I'm voting for you for player director in the next election. I don't know if it's on the ballot or not, but I'm voting that way.
Wouldn't that be amazing? My dad always told me, he goes, if you got 25 million, he's like, you would just give away like 95% of it. I'm like, well, yeah, because I can't, I couldn't sleep at night. I could not sleep at night having that much money in my account and being like, fuck, dude, I could actually do something because I don't even care. Sure, the recognition will be fun because I've always thought of myself as Robin Hood in a way, but like you said, that doesn't, I don't care about that. Like, I just want my kids to have a legit chance, and I want everyone else's kids to have a legit chance, and I want my friends and, like, the guy you played with that are legit talented, they need a chance. And
Mhm,
this is a game where we hit a plastic ball in a glorified field, okay? And
mhm,
I love the shit out of it. It's an amazing game, but for it to be thinking that it's worth this much money and this much effort is, oh, I don't mind the effort part, but for it to be worth this much money, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It really doesn't. And I think if we can actually kind of do these models and have this sort of environment within golf, I think these other sports will start to parallel that. And we can really start giving money back into our society in the right places. And then we can actually start to better our society, because I think the United States as a whole is so financially motivated that we have this huge gap between the upper class and the middle class now. And it's a lot of it stems from this kind of thinking. And golf is such a small scale compared to the bigger parts of our society. But this is just a great example of how the United States works.
The other one that we talked about before, how all golf is kind of tripping over its own feet, is at the product level is just speed of the game. It allows for there to be side by side with advertisements and this stuff, because even Brooks has talked about how tournament golf just isn't that fun because it's so slow. It's such a grind.
I know. It's so
And the
true.
mechanisms that you talked about before about speeding up the game, I found really compelling.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and say that out loud too. Yeah, I caddy for USGA official. I never remember people I caddy for. I'm sorry. I remember faces. Names are another thing. There's a few guys I will never forget their names, but most people I'm like, God, I know your face. I know I've caddied for you. A lot of it's because I smoked a lot of weed back then. So maybe now I'm kind of shaping up a little bit. But still, I have a hard time with names. And yeah, I caddied for this USGA official, and he was like, yeah, well, we can create situations that speed up play. And he says these are situations, though, that people are not going to embrace because it does make a gray area of the game. But I think in terms of the reality of what we're doing and how to make that perform faster, these are very simple ideas. And the first idea was to lift clean in place no matter what in the fairway. And I think the reason why for that is we will never have mud balls, divots in the fairway. And he said, even if you're at Augusta, I don't care. Lift clean that bitch, because now the pros won't complain. And that way we just get rid of all that. And the second thing is a shot clock. I think once you stand or once you set up to the ball, okay, so I think he meant by setting up is when that club is behind the ball within I guess, a certain distance there, a shot clock starts to go. And 30 to 45 seconds, fine. I'm sure we can figure out a way to structure that to where it makes a lot more sense. Maybe put a
Mhm.
box around the ball to where if you stand within that box, you don't have a choice. You got to go.
Well, the lost ball thing is 3 minutes once you arrive at your ball, so it could just be as soon as you arrive there. Like, once you're at your
Perfect.
ball, you can do whatever you want. You have 1 minute to get
Yeah.
your selection, your numbers,
Yeah.
stand over it, hit it, but I don't see a situation where you ever really need more than a minute.
No, I agree. That's actually what we should. I think that's what they could do is you were responsible for bringing out your ball within the ethics of the game. The furthest player out hits, and say you're walking down the fairway and that person hits. They then do a time where, okay, so say after the drives we have a 3 to 5 minutes to get to our balls, and then so they time that, and then by the time that person gets to their ball, right? Then they do And the minute you stand within a 10-foot radius of your ball, boom, shot clock goes, okay, you got a minute to figure your shit out. I don't care. You can throw grass up. Who gives a fuck? But you got a minute. Figure
Yeah.
it out, go, right? So I think they could create something that along those lines. And then I think to me, this is the most interesting one that he said is he wanted to paint the bottom of the flagstick a different color. Pros, it would be like a foot and a half. Amateurs, it would be like 2.5 feet, whatever. And it being the bottom of that flagstick, you can lay the flagstick down from the edge of the to that ball, and if any of that ball is touching within that colored part of the flag, you pick it up. Don't care if you stuck it tight for birdie, if you're putting for triple bogey, whatever. If you're within that colored part of the flag, you pick it up.
That's the one that people would lose their shit about.
They would lose their shit about. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that takes away the purity of the game in a way. But then again, if it's only a foot and a half long,
And TV professionals, wherever they're 100% from on average in the year, like put it
yeah,
there. I'm pretty sure it's around a foot, like
yeah,
99,
exactly.
call it 99 if you have to,
Yeah,
but
right. And it's like if I'm a foot and a half out, if I'm 18 inches out, then what are we doing wasting our time? I'm not showcasing my talent anymore. I'm having to go through a routine, do all this bullshit, all because the ball has to touch the hole. I don't know. We're taking away the purity of showcasing talent. And so, and again, 3 footers are one thing. I get it. 3 footers, I've seen a best, right? Fine. But a foot and a half putt, we're here, and I got a guy doing his whole fucking routine doing that, dude, I would go nuts, dude. And I've seen it many times. And it is what it is. And I think that rule might be hard to push. It would be nice though, because then that would
Mhm.
push amateurs to being like, okay, even the guys that are purist of the game, they can at least be like, pick that shit up because now we have this modern rule and we're painting the bottom of the flag sticks now. Put the flag stick down. Okay, you're good, and that'll speed up amateur golf a lot.
Or your player could just give it to you. I mean, there's ways you could do that too, where it's just
Like match play, like they do in match play.
like match play, but all the time. I mean, if
Yeah,
you
right.
didn't want to go for the whole physical thing, it's just the person who's carrying your card on any real experience of golf. That should be what's going on anyway. Men's leagues, I mean, sure, there's loopholes there. You could be playing with your buddy and pay each other off or
Yeah, right.
whatever.
And
But
I think that's what he
yeah.
said too, is he even mentioned that that would be a thing, but then he said the same thing. He said, "Well, you could everyone's gonna be wanting to play with Adam Scott because Adam Scott gives 5 footers." You're like, "Well, dude, you shot really well. What happened?" You're like, "Well, I played with Adam today. Adam's just handing out putts left and right." Right? It's like, well, he's always a nice guy, huh? Really cool
Uh,
dude. So, but
yeah.
I think paying the bottom of the flagstick would
Yeah,
be
it's a bit.
hard at first, but
Mhm.
I think after a while when people would start doing it, they would be like, "Okay, this is kinda nice.
Yeah.
Fuck, this is becoming a universal thing now where we're not having to really be like, 'Oh my god, I'm sweating over this 2.5 footer.'" Right? The amateurs, they put the flagstick down, they're like, "Okay, a quarter of the ball's touched that line. Dude, what are you doing?" That
Yeah.
you can legally pick that up now, right?
Yeah.
And then for people practicing golf, they don't have to spend time on the greens practicing these short putts. They can practice the longer putts, spend more time on the range, get better on that, right? And then again, it's showcasing talent a little bit more instead of it being all about a little bit of luck or a little bit of some underlying reason. Now we're allowing people to earn their strokes by, again, purely on talent. And I think in golf, we don't need to have golf is already so hard as it is that we don't really necessarily need to force that. Now, if you miss a 5 footer, tough shit, right? That's part of the game to me.
Mhm.
But again, I think pros, it would be like a foot, 18 inches. Like we're talking here, dude. We're not
Mhm.
talking a good 3 footer. Let them putt
Mhm.
those out. I'm all for that. But putt that's this fucking far away. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go, dude. What are we doing? Pick the shit up. Let's go. Right. And you see the guys all the time. They'll stuff it to a foot and a half, not even. And you're like, all right, good birdie.
Yeah.
Why are we watching it, dude? Oh,
Yeah.
here he goes. He goes and he marks the ball, he cleans it, and then he puts it down, and then he goes up to it, and he's doing his little fucking routine. You're like, dude, dear God, it's 7 inches away. Let's go. Just get
Yeah.
me the fuck off the screen.
Well, there's 2 different empirical arguments for it. One is that when you're playing with better players and they stuff it to a foot and a half, you're generally just like, it's good. Like, who
Yeah.
cares?
Yes, 100%.
And when you're playing with worse players, say they hit it to 2.5 feet, they've just hit 6 shots getting here. They're happy to be 2 feet away. And now they're standing over it. And you could just be like, I mean, this is what I do anyway. Like, if someone's putting everything out, I'd just be like, why are you doing that? Like, there's no point. I know that you're still new to the game and you like to see it go in, but that'll come. That's not the thing that we're really testing for right now.
No.
So just pick it up and move along and feel good about your 6, whatever, 7 now,
Yeah.
and we're not gonna see you bat that thing back and forth to make a 9 and feel bad about the game and not wanna play it more.
Right, 100%. I agree, and I think that would add a different dynamic to the game, but I think it would create a culture shift because golf is one of the few games that penalizes a good shot, and I'm not talking about the putts, it's about the fairways and all this stuff too. It's just very interesting how you could have 2 players playing in a playoff, and they both hit a drive down the middle, and one of the guys is in a divot, and the other guy is not, and then one guy in the divot has to take an unplayable, and then they both hit it on the green and 2 putt, and you're thinking, "Did the guy that hit it in the divot deserve that?"
Mhm.
And you're like, "Well, no, he just got unlucky." And it's like, so again, he lost not because he wasn't talented enough. He lost because he got unlucky.
Right, and this runs counter to the whole argument before about this early Scots versus British approach, because the British this is adopting more of a British approach, but
Yeah,
only kind of on the optics of it. In reality, if you are in the fairway, you've already done the thing that you're supposed to do.
right.
Whereas if you hit it in the rough and you're in a divot, tough shit. You're
Yes.
in the rough. Like
Yeah, you shouldn't
you're
have made it in the
already
rough.
yeah, but
Right.
yeah, it's also recognizing a fault with the modern game that is completely around pace, where you see these high school kids that line up, get their marker, get their alignment, stand over it. Wait, that's wrong. Let's go back and do it again.
Oh,
And it's just like,
fuck.
dude, it's a fucking 5 footer. Just hit it. It's gonna go in or it's not. Like,
Yeah, right? Exactly. And if we modify the rules to speed up the game, that'll then teach these young players at what pace the game needs to be played at. They need a shot clock deal on the tour. That just needs to happen. I don't know when it'll happen, but that needs to happen. And the fairway thing, the argument is, well, you're taking away the black and white element of the game. You're putting a gray area. And the more gray areas we put in the game, the purity goes away from it. And I'm thinking, okay, sure, you could teach a player how to hit out of divots, but what if I end up in a divot to where I can't even access the ball? A crow, right? There's a filled in divot, a guy replaces a divot, and a crow pulls the divot out, and it's a huge chunk of a divot. I know this is a very particular situation, and say that ball enters a hole where you can't even hit the shot
mm,
at all. What are you going to tell that guy? Like, oh, you got to take an unplayable, man. That's just how it goes. And it's like, dude, I did everything I was asked to do. I hit it down the middle of the fairway. Mother Nature just happened to fuck me. And I'm like, well, okay, that's just part of the game. It's like, yeah, okay, we can modify this.
the crow a burrowing animal, then
Right. And then like and I just think that would those 2 things for sure I think are crucial to speeding up the play of the game. And then yeah, the shot clock thing could help the putting, but I also think the putting thing would really help amateurs focus more time on getting better at golf on elements that mean more than these 2.5 foot putts, foot and a half putts. And I'm not asking for 3 to 5 footers, guys. I mean, we're talking, yes, putt that fucker out, dude, because there's some break there. You have to
mhm.
have a straight face. You need good speed. Okay. So that requires some skill.
Similarly, punishing I had a penalty. It was in a Utah amateur state am qualifier. My buddy was caddying for me, and this was back when, you couldn't ground the club in red
Oh,
hazards.
yeah.
So, we were driving a cart 'cause it's a pretty mountainous course, everyone had to drive carts, and he my caddy and I, we just tore into the fucking red stakes area in the cart, which I didn't know was a penalty. Then got out of the cart and I had like 2 or 3 clubs I was kinda considering, and I put a couple of them just on the ground next to me. So I was grounded 2 clubs now, plus the cart entrance. It was like a 12-stroke penalty if they had to call the USGA about. I was like, "What fucking advantage did I get by this obvious mistake? Like, this is like,
Right.
why did you suggest for me to park 100 yards away just to walk over there and then follow the rules by taking more time going back and forth to figure out which club it was because I can't put it down next to me. You know what I mean? Like
That's yeah.
they have cleaned that one up because I think you can now. Speaking of, I was curious to ask about, some of your caddying experience, particularly in regards to, um, difference of what you're advising mid and high handicappers versus what you're advising better players on.
In terms of just like simple advice or just
Yeah, is there's like trends of kind of where I think that's interesting to hear how you can help. To flip the question the other way, what kind of things are you suggesting to mid and high handicappers on the regular that are helping their scores that you don't have to suggest to better players? Just from like a strategy
yeah,
perspective,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
where are they fucking up
I,
the most often?
it's when they make mistakes.
Just getting
I
back
think
in play.
the mid to high handicappers overreact a lot. And again, it's that life or death kind of perception. I think that's the culture that golf has been created throughout the years, the reputation and the rules book and all this stuff. When you have a 15 handicapper and they get in trouble, they try to avoid bogeys. And I'm
Mm,
like, dude, bogeys are fine. They're not our friends. They're not our enemies. They're fine. Now, I'm not saying that's our goal, but you have to understand in golf, like a good golf round has bad holes. Those bad holes on a good golf round are just not as bad as some of your bad rounds. Okay. You can't play a golf round without a bad shot. You can't play a bad golf round without a bad hole. Yeah, maybe you got lucky and you can get some misses going, but you're still going to have a bad hole. Now, in relation to your score, that's why if you notice every golfer that plays, even if they shoot their career round, they'll instantly go, well, yeah, but I missed this putt, or yeah, I had this bad shot, or yeah, I had this. You're like, well, yeah, dude, that's golf. You're not going to be able to play golf without knowing that you're going to leave something out there.
mm,
And so the advice I give for like an 8, 15, 20 handicapper, I'm always like, hey, look, we're in the bunker. Okay. Well, I can get a 7 iron out. You're like, no, you can't. You need to hit a sand wedge, and then we're going to try to get a putt for 4. And if I can convince those guys to do that and they limit the double and triple bogeys and they just make bogeys, then like I just had a guy like this. And he came up to me the first 2 days. He's like, "Man, that's the best I've shot in a while." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, right on." He goes, "Well, I mean, I didn't really feel like I played that good." I'm like, "Well, yeah, because we're taking the higher percentages, we're
mm,
avoiding the big numbers, and we're trying to keep it in play, and we're trying we've taken in the reality of the situation here, and so I have convinced you that you don't always have to be hitting onto the green. You don't need a birdie putt every hole, dude.
mhm,
You're an 18 handicap." 15 handicap. If you hit a bad tee shot and we're 230 out and you can't get there in 2, like, let's lay up to a decent number, try to have a putt for 4. If you make a 5, okay, well, move on. I mean, if you have 7 bogeys and you have 11 pars, well, you've just shot your career round as a
mhm,
15.
mhm,
Okay, so you're gonna have some holes, but the thing is you have to get rid of the doubles and the triples.
mhm,
That's what kills you. And for
mhm,
some reason, these 15 handicappers, and a lot of it's because they're watching guys on TV. They have their buddies that are scratch golfers. They're talking golf, and they have
mhm.
this and that. And it's kind of
And
funny too because with scratch golfers, sometimes they'll get in these little holes where they'll push and they'll press, and all I have to do is remind them. I'm like, "Hey, look, I would take an unplayable here." And they're just sitting up there with a bush and they're trying all this fancy shit, and you're like, "Dude, it ain't gonna work. You have no backswing." "Well, my buddy's already on there for birdie." It's like, well, you're gonna have to accept you're probably gonna lose the hole. It's
take your
fine.
medicine.
Yeah, do the best you can. If we can get a 4, then that forces them to have to make that putt for 3 to win the
Yep.
hole, right? And I'm not saying it's still possible to make a 4, but when you remind a scratch golfer that, they instantly go, "Oh, yeah, that's right." And we don't have a long conversation there. It's done and
Mhm,
over with. And
mhm,
usually scratch golfers, they get it. They know, okay, it is what it is. I've accepted reality. And
mhm.
15 handicappers have a very hard time accepting reality. They think golf has to be played a certain way. And again, a lot of that's perception of watching the tour. I watch the tour. I watch these guys hit it to 5 feet all the time. I'm watching birdies after birdies after birdies. So then I think when I go play and I'm shooting 91, I feel like a piece of shit. And it's like, well, dude, you're in 15, 18 handicap. I mean, you only shot what, 19 over? Not the best round you've had, but I mean, that's not going to be one of the worst rounds you have either. So
Yeah.
Um,
beat the person you were yesterday, not the field. Just stay
yeah,
within
right.
yourself and try to make those little 1% to quote Anthony Kim, you know.
100%, man. And I think when I have that 15 handicapper and I'm caddying for them, it's good for them because they have a logical brain attached to
Mhm.
their game at this point, and so then they can start to really understand what the reality is. And once
Mm.
they have somebody that has this logical portion to them that's telling them, "Hey, look, this is what it is. Yada yada yada." And it gives them a sense of reality of like, okay, they're right. I'm gonna just chip it out of the shit. I'm gonna try to make a putt for four. Great, awesome. And then as long as they limit those mistakes and they don't compound them, then they can start to see their bad rounds not be so bad. And then once they have good rounds, they're going to be obviously much more prepared and they're going to be a little more understanding of, okay, I'm having a good round, but I just hit a bad shot. Well, I had this caddy at Bandon one time tell me that bogeys aren't our friends, they're not our enemies. That's actually a good idea. I didn't think of it like that. And then all of a sudden, instead of him being 1 over through 7, and he's up against a triple bogey situation, he's going to try to make bogey, and now he's only 2 over through 8. And even as a 6 or 8 handicap, you're like, dude, that is pretty damn good, man. So yeah, that's it for us. Yeah, but don't forget, boys, lighten your bags. 200 a strap. Austin, thank you. That was awesome, dude.
My pleasure.
Um,
Thanks for having me.
yep.